My name is Amy Gramowski. I am here this morning to talk legal issues in the COVID-19 era. I am so fortunate today to have Laurie Ealom, who is the Democratic Director of the Kansas City Election Board. I have the honor of sitting on the Kansas City Election Board of Commissioners. I was appointed by Governor Parsons in August, so I've been working with Laurie and Sean, who is the Republican Director, and all of the great staff at KCEB for the last 8 months. I've got to see them in quote normal times, and now I've been able to see them in this unnormal times, and they are just fantastic and terrific and work so hard to make the elections great for Kansas City. Welcome, Laurie.
Thank you, Amy.
Laurie,
glad to be here.
Yes, and we don't do too much bio stuff, but I just wanted to mention that Laurie worked at the Kansas City Election Board in positions other than the director, was elevated to the director position. What year was that, Laurie?
2016, August 16, 2016.
All right, yeah, wow, right before a big one.
Yes.
So Laurie and the whole staff there lives and breathes elections. It is a smaller staff at times that envelops into a bigger staff near elections. They employ lots of people. And so we have an election coming up on June 2nd, and we just want to talk a little bit about that. Laurie, what is going to tell us about the polling location changes on June 2nd?
Sure. If I could just give just a tad bit of background.
You got it.
We lost most of our polls. We have a lot of polls that have evolved into senior centers, us using more and more senior centers based on their recommendation, because it's easy for them to come downstairs and work as opposed to have to use any type of transportation. So we've lost all of those. We've lost most of the churches. We had a lot of Catholic churches, and the Archdiocese does not want poll locations in their facilities. So we had to reroute. Amy and her cohorts on the board ask for several different options of what we were thinking about. And so the only option to me that was viable at this time was community centers and gymnasiums, school gymnasiums. So Dr. Bedell and Dr. Davis, they bought off on the situation. So therefore they're allowing us to utilize their gyms, cafeterias, and community centers this time. That seemed very important to us based on the fact that we have to social distance. For those of you who hopefully all of the viewers are voters, we have small rooms, we have large rooms, we have medium-sized rooms, but there was no social distancing before. People stand in line a centimeter almost away from each other. And so in order for us to follow appropriately the CDC guidelines, we had to change the whole layout of what our polls look like. So therefore we have 27 polling locations, 28 including Kansas City Election Board. And how we picked the polls was based on so many polls per ward. So it's going to be a central polling situation. So say, for instance, you're in Ward 1 and your precinct would normally be 4 and 5. You can go there and you can vote on a paper ballot, actually pre-printed paper ballot. But if you are in Ward 1 and you would have been in, say, precinct 8 and 12, you would use the electronic ballot marking device. There are a number of different ballot styles. And so the only way we could keep that down with no confusion is to have the ballot marking device and then the actual pre-printed ballots that are associated with that specific polling location.
Okay, we're gonna back up here.
I'm sorry.
Laurie's so full of information. We just got to get it into bite size.
Sure.
Okay, so so first of all, the link is in the notes of this, of where you can find your new polling location if it is new. Obviously, some people might have to
Most will be
change,
new.
but
I would
most
say
will be
90,
new.
I would say 95% of those will be new. Not, they will be new to that person. However, they're not, some of them are not new to us using them.
I gotcha. Okay. Okay. So, and when I checked, I'm at someplace new. So I would suggest, as always, you always want to have a voting plan. So if you start planning right now, you can
Absolutely.
start planning your, what your voting is going to look like. So the polling places are new. We're using different locations. The other leaders in Kansas City have cooperated, it sounds like,
Yes,
with using locations that normally aren't used.
absolutely. I had a lot of assistance with that because people were on quarantine, so you can't get the traditional way that you call, and it was very challenging even to get to reach out to folks because they're all home now.
Right.
I wasn't privy to the private numbers. However, we pulled a rabbit out of the hat, and so we got what we needed.
Okay, let's talk about what is going to happen actually at the polls themselves. What are the precautions that the election board has put in place for the voters?
Certainly, I'd be glad to. One of the things that's very important that we put into place is there are these 8-foot barriers that are made from PVC. It's a very ingenious invention that KCB came up with. And I like to call them sputum protectors because it drives the staff crazy. It was one of the things that we're working diligently on assembling, and that is to protect the voters and also the poll workers. The judges will have masks. We will have gloves. We have single-use pencils. We have styli that will be used when, in other words, initially in check-in, people would use the same stylus. Well, now they use that stylus to sign the poll pad with, and they take it with them to the ballot marking device. And when they're done using it, they drop it in a bucket that will be sanitized later. So it's sort of more like an assembly line. We will have markers on the floor indicating the 6-foot distance. We will have a certain number, depending on if it's a cafeteria, a gymnasium, a certain number of people that will be coming into the polls at a time. We're not going to jam pack it and put as many put as many tables and ballot marking devices in the area as we can, like we always used to. So I really kind of feel like I hate that it's for a virus that we're doing this, but I think the polls are going to be safer now than they've been. I mean, during my career, and I believe probably because there's going to be sanitizing of hard surfaces. We have microban. We have cleaning products that people can't even get now. I'm kind of OCD, so I started ordering things back in January. I felt like something was going to happen, and it kept really just pulling at me. So,
Yeah.
so we have Lysol wipes, we have Clorox wipe, we have Lysol spray, we have alcohol wipes, which that's the only thing suitable for the equipment, to wipe the screens on the equipment. However, you'll notice that the judges with gloves, when they program the equipment, just know that the equipment's already been sterilized. So therefore, when the person comes up to tap on the ballot marking device with the stylus, it's not contaminated. There's no cross contamination there.
Okay. All right. So we are going to talk about, and I didn't make a slide for this, but I want to talk about the 2 ways Kansas City allows people to vote or empowers people to vote in the polls, because there's some confusion about paper versus electronic ballot. And I think there's a great way to describe electronic ballot. It's not really an electronic ballot. If it's a way.
That's why I say marking device. You notice I
Marking
always
device. Okay.
marking device.
So tell, and we do also, for differently abled voters, we have different options.
Headphones, we have tapper, we have rockers, we have everything.
Yes, but for the average Jane going into a poll, what are the two different kinds of voting that is available to her?
Okay, first I'll speak about the pre-printed ballots. They are pre-printed, packaged, and prepared for each polling location. Typically, on a normal election, we have probably no less than maybe 327 ballot styles. So because this is a different kind of election, we thought it was better to break those out and have the ballot styles that are appropriate for the ward and precinct. That's where you come in, you say you want a paper ballot, and you go ahead and fill in the bubbles. That's the old school way. Now, I'd like to encourage people and really say that the ballot marking device is a really good way to go. Why? Because it only marks your ballot. You can go back and change it 10 times. It asks you over and over and over again when you get to your summary page, are you satisfied with what you've marked? If not, you can go all the way back to the beginning, do it over. And when you stick the ballot in the machine, it shoots it out. And you actually get to see your choices. So it's not like written in some hieroglyphics or some code or something that you can't understand. You can actually see, hey, okay, yes, that's what I wanted. So then you feed that into the machine. And I'm going to tell you, Kansas City's kind of traditional in the fact that they like paper ballots, but it is a law that a lot of jurisdictions still have the touchscreen, what they refer to as the touchscreen. Now, you really couldn't see your choices. It made your choices and it was into the machine. It was like on a register tape, on some funny paper. This is actual physical ballot that you get to see. You get to change 10 times if you want to, and you see your choices and it goes in and the machine reads your choices at that time. So I really encourage people to go that route. It's much easier and it's really foolproof because if you use a paper ballot and you mark it out or you think you want to mark one, you go back and forth, we sometimes will have to remake that ballot, or we have to have the attorneys do what is called voter intent, where they determine what do they think that the voter really meant to do.
Right. Yeah, this is a great point in that the paper ballots can be spoiled more easily than the
Absolutely.
stylus ones.
No. Stylists can too. They can be
yeah.
spoiled.
Okay.
Both.
Okay.
There's no difference
All
in
right.
the procedure. We can spoil a ballot from the ballot marking device as well.
Okay. Good. A question we got on the Facebook is, will hours be extended? Obviously, this is going to take longer. The process probably will be taking longer than our normal voting times. I think I know the answer to this, but I will defer to you on the extended times. My understanding is that if you're in line at 7, you get to vote.
Yes, absolutely. We can't extend the voting times. Those are set by law. However, there's down times when you come to the polls. The busiest times are the first thing in the morning, from noon to 1, and then from 5 to 7. Those are the busiest times. If you come in between those times, 9 times out of 10, you can walk right in. So I always encourage people, don't go for the mad rush because everybody wants to go before work or everybody getting off work. Go in the in-between times because literally there is a lull that they're twiddling their thumbs. So I encourage you to do so. And I also encourage voters to look at the sample ballot that's online. When you pull up your voter status, when you do check your voter status, it will show you the subjects that you're able to vote on. So that's specific to your jurisdiction, your ward and precinct. So that way you already know, you can print it out, take it with you. So that's your guide. And I encourage voters to get in the habit of doing this because you have your, like you have your study guide. You go in and it's just, you can vote in a minute and a half if you're prepared.
And so this is always available online.
Always.
And you, when you check your voter status with the KCEB, which the link is in the Facebook comments and also on your screen, you'll enter the information it will give you your polling location and also give you a copy of your ballot.
That is correct.
Okay. And
That is,
so,
and directions. It'll give you directions. You can print
great.
out directions if you'd like.
Awesome. Awesome. And so this upcoming election in June is pretty light on the ballot. There's not much on it. For
No.
me, there's one question.
Right.
For others, there may be two or
Two.
three.
Exactly, 2 or 3.
But
3
it's
max.
not, yeah. So as compared to a November ballot,
Which may be 19 inches front and back. We don't know
that's
yet.
right. That's right. And so having a printed ballot, having your choices known beforehand, what a great idea, and should be part of your voting plan.
I agree. And I always encourage people, take it with you. You can take it with you, sit down and use it as a little cheat sheet. And then someone's going to, the poll workers are going to throw it away afterwards. So you're more than welcome to take that with you. I encourage you to take it with you. Don't try to memorize it.
Definitely. For voters outside of Kansas City, but in the state of Missouri, in the Facebook comments, we have the Missouri Secretary of State, which has the polling location, your new polling location. It also has the Kansas City information, if it's the same. And then in Kansas, also in the Facebook comments, is a link to the Kansas Secretary of State, which allows for, or not allows, but will tell you your voting locations, poll locations, et cetera. So that's, so the next screen is what's on the ballot for June 2nd. For me, it's just a question about the firefighters, but what else is being decided on in this election?
There's school board directors for Lee Summit, Raytown, Hickman Mills, MCCC, the Metropolitan Community Colleges, and there's a city question about the fire department. Yep. So those are the questions that are on the ballot, on the various ballots. And it really, I voted already, and it took me probably 45 seconds to do the voting, and I was in and out in a minute.
Yeah. Okay, so today is May 20th, and you can apply for an absentee ballot up until today. Is that correct?
Yes, at 5 o'clock.
Okay, and so can people fax that, email it? How can people get you their application for a absentee ballot?
They can go to kceb@kceb.com. Actually, the absentee ballot applications are also on our website.
Great.
Under absentee voting. So they can complete that. They can I've had people taking pictures of them and then sending them via email to the KCEB site. And then to the absentee voting, there is all the content. You can fax it. There's a special fax machine that the only thing that goes there is absentee applications as well. So that is where we all can see it and we hear it. It's very old, but it's very reliable. So until 5 o'clock today, and we will issue all the ballots that we get by 5 o'clock today.
Great. Okay, so let's talk the upcoming elections in August and November. Yes. I know that we have voter registration deadlines. The people at KCEB this year, let's see, we're going to have 4 elections total.
Correct.
And since the April election got moved to June, basically the employees of KCEB and all the voting jurisdictions in the state of Missouri, no break. And basically, once they get done with the June 2nd election, it's a sprint towards August, and then August finishes, and it's a sprint till November. And hopefully, in the middle of November, Lauri is on an island somewhere. And,
that's the goal.
But let's talk about registration deadlines for the August and November elections. It looks like we have July 8th for August 4th.
And October 7th.
For the presidential in November 3rd. And so my plea today is to find one person you can register to vote, whether it is a new voter, maybe a teenager you live with that just turned 18, maybe somebody new on your block, somebody new in your building that has moved here from Kansas or somewhere else, and you need to get them registered to vote. You can register people. I mean, I used to stand outside of the grocery store. I think that's going to be a little different in the era of
Now, I
COVID-19,
know.
but you certainly can reach out to a voter, and registering people to vote. It also sometimes means just updating their address, because
Correct.
that can be a whole thing on election day where you didn't change your address and you're
Well,
here.
not this election day,
Not
because
this
all our
election.
polls are central.
That's true. That's a
They're all
great thing.
central. So what you would do in this case, what you would do is you would take um, the voter assistance specialist you will fill out a complete affidavit, meaning your voter registration, and you're just doing a change of address, but you'll still be able to vote there. We do the hard copy, so we scan it back in once we get back to the office. So there's no wrong polling location really this time. And this actually may be the future of voting if we don't get a legitimate or a vote by mail situation going
Right.
on.
And
No excuse
yeah,
absentee.
I'll just touch on that real quick. In Missouri, you have to have an excuse to vote absentee. There's one of 6 excuses that you have to have: out of the jurisdiction, ill, I don't even know what they are, but you have to have an excuse. And most times you have to have your absentee ballot notarized. Not every time. There was a bill passed by the Missouri legislature. It has not been signed by Governor Parsons.
I
But
don't think he'll sign it
oh, really?
before, I know he won't sign it today, so that, well, it's going to be past the time. So it would be applicable to the August and November elections.
Okay, well, it would
And
change. Yeah, it would
and it's
change
different from
something.
what we really wanted.
Right, of course. But, we're unfortunately, and Lauri knows this all too well, the Kansas City Election Board, we are here to implement and follow the laws of Missouri. We can't go off,
Yes.
even though Lauri and I would, we're out there.
Hey, I wouldn't require a notary if it was me. I understand, but I have to follow the rules. And the challenging part is that sometimes, well, oftentimes with the absentee, and I'm going to say this because I think people need to know this. Oftentimes, many people always, and I've been there going on 10 years as of June the 6th, people say that they're not going to be around, and then I see them at the polls. And so this is a way that you don't have to lie, because people lie. I mean, they tell untruths. Let's don't say lie.
Yeah.
But they tell untruths, and then I see them at the polls on election day.
Yeah.
So this is a way ethically that you can cast your ballot without telling an untruth.
Yeah. Yeah. And of course, Kansas City Election Board will keep all their voters up to date via their website,
Absolutely,
via their Twitter, Facebook page. All of those links are in the notes in the Facebook comments. We've made links to them. So I would love it if you would follow the election board on Twitter and Facebook to get the most updated version of what we're doing. The Kansas City Election Boards holds their meetings, and they are open to the public on the 3rd Thursday of every month at noon. They have been by phone the last couple months. It sounds like it's going to be a hybrid of in-person phone tomorrow.
yes.
And so everybody is always allowed and welcome at those meetings.
Absolutely.
We would love to have your voice as part of the conversation about elections in Kansas City, even if just to listen to the decisions that are being made by the board, the information that's presented by the directors. I mean, it just runs the gamut of budget to protecting voters. The people at the election board live and breathe this stuff, and they are frontline workers. They are like nurses. They are like grocery store clerks.
Yeah, can we talk about that just a little bit?
Yes, yes.
One of the things that people have this ideology that we're not considered essential workers. We are. We've worked the whole time. My folks, other than those in the protected class, we run skeleton crews, and we work the whole time. So we put our life on the lines too, to be the gatekeepers of democracy. And that's important to us. We're election junkies, literally. We're all election nerds trying to figure out right code. I mean, we do so many things that I wish I could always share with the public, but people are like, oh, it's so boring. It's not boring to us, but nonetheless, it's important that you all vote, because I don't want to seem like my essential is non-essential when you don't show up. Your vote does matter. Do not, and I say this with the ultimate level of conviction, do not believe the hype. Your vote counts. And I'll put it like this, and this probably is not the right way to say it, but if you watch the rhetoric that comes from Washington, Democrats and Republicans don't seem to agree on much. So what I'll say is that the Democrats and the Republicans in my office, we agree. And what we agree to do is run a safe, fair election where all votes count. Now, there's one thing that I heard in March that I want to point out because it's important. Provisional ballots, we always err on the side of the voter. Always. We have a blue ID provisional. That's if you don't have anything. You come to the poll, you don't have anything. We verify, and that's not something that we pass off. That's something that me and Sean and I do together. We go through each provisional ballot and we always err on the side of the voter. So I remember in March, there was a big hoopla and someone said, I didn't want to vote provisionally because I want my vote to count. Provisional ballots count. Do not believe people that do not run elections when they say things. Call me. I have no problem sharing, doing lunch and learns, because provisional ballots do count. We have an 80 to 90%.
That's right. That's
so
right.
That's important.
Everything she said is true. It would be great if Laurie is an excellent communicator and would be able to
Thanks, Amy.
come on a Zoom community meeting with you.
Oh, I would love to.
Come on a club, whatever if you're discussing elections, she would be a great participant, very informative, knows her stuff. I'm really in awe of the people at the election board. It is just absolutely a thankless job.
Can I just give a shout out to those guys? I just really want to.
You should.
A lot of people take credit. I'm not the type to take credit for. I'm only as good as they are. And any idea that I come up with, I was making protective shield barriers from vinyl. That's morphed into a whole vinyl shielding of the polls and the office and the front desk. And these guys, the people that I work with, they love what they do. They love the environment. And we make a way out of no way. We have a mantra that we stay ready so we don't have to get ready. So when the Secretary of State came last week, we had PPE all up around the office. He's like, wow, you guys didn't wait for us. Absolutely not. We're going to protect ourselves. These are a great group of people to work with, very positive, and they will make a way out of no way. Find a way or make one.
I love it. I love it. I love to see it. I love to be a part of it. Voting has been a passion of mine my whole life, and
me too.
And I just feel so lucky to be part of the KCEB organization now.
Well, we're glad to have you.
If people have questions about voting, they feel free to reach out to me. If I don't know the answer, I will
reach out to me. I talk to voters all the time, and let me say, I'm the person that responds directly to the KCEB at kceb.org account. So yesterday I had a question about a voter asked about the new ID. Would they be able to vote on their old driver's license because they don't have the new ID? Yes, your driver's license isn't expired. The new ID is pretty much for flying. You can still vote. It doesn't change. All the same documents that you were able to vote with before, you can still vote with. Nothing's changed.
Great. All right. I got a quick question from the Facebook comments, and it's if I'm in line at 6:59, I will still be able to vote.
Absolutely. If you're in line at 6:59 and a half, you'll still be able to vote.
Right. Right. And generally what I have never experienced it because I'm one of those obnoxious early voters that get there at 6:02. But if at 6:59 or at 7 o'clock, they send the judge out to the end of the line.
That's correct. And the judge stands at the end of the line and says, I'm sorry, this is the last person in line. and the judge stands there. But there's one thing that I forgot, Amy, that's imperative. We will have line walkers. If there is a longer line than usual outside, there will be somebody walking around with the poll pad, just checking to make sure everything is okay, so you don't have to wait until it's your turn and then go to the voter assistance specialist. We'll have you all taken care of when you're in line. So this, you just go through, it's just assembly line, systematic.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
Just to prepare for any glitches.
I just want to say one more thing, and then we're going to wrap up.
Sure.
I want to encourage people not only to vote, but to become election day workers. And
Please.
This is the greatest honor. I would say it's up there with jury service in, giving to your community, being an election day worker. Tell us what are some of the things people can do on election day for the election board.
Well, I tell you, we have lots of positions. If you just like to greet people, we do have greeters. That's somebody who says, hi, how are you? Welcome to the election. Welcome to whatever the polling location is. And they're the same person that would give you your stickers at the end and say, thank you for voting. So if you don't really want to work, I start there, because if you really don't want to work the equipment, that's fine. I've got something for you. We have poll pad judges. We have supervisory judges. We have line walkers. We have deputy commissioners who check the polls for us. There are second set of eyes that rove around on election day to all the various polls. We have pickup personnel. They're those people that if there's not a supervisor, there's not a VAS, they pick up the memory sticks and all the information we need back at the board so that we can do our counts. We have an array. We have ballot judges. So if all you want to do is hand out ballots during the day, we have something for you regardless of whatever your preference is. So if you don't want to stay put, you can roam around town. So there's something.
What is the time commitment and how much do you pay?
Well, for this, for all the way through to November, we're paying hazard pay. The minimum is $250. The maximum is $275. And a $35 per class is included.
Tell us about the training that the election day workers would experience.
New election day workers would experience a 2-hour training specified for the position that they've applied for. Seasoned election judges, their training is about an hour, and it's usually not even an hour. It's based on updates because things are always, there's so many moving parts. So you're looking at an hour to 2 hours. And we're conducting classes now, but we're keeping it to 10 people per class. So we have a lot of classes. We even have Saturday classes. So whatever your schedule is, we can make sure that there's a time for you to come in and get trained.
Great. Great. I would encourage everybody to do that. Obviously, vote, reach out to Lauri, reach out to me if you have questions about the election. We would love to discuss it. Lauri, thank you so much. I appreciate your hard work. I will see you tomorrow. And
I sure will.
Thank you so much for the work you do on behalf of Kansas City voters. It's very much appreciated.
Thank you. And thanks to my team at KCEB, guys. I love you.
Big time. Big time.
Thanks, Amy.
All right, Lauri, talk to you later.
Have a good one.
All right.
See you later.
Bye-bye.